everyone. My name is Chris Foy, and my project was streamlining the referral process at the organization where I work. Just to give you a little bit of background, the organization where I work is the Tennessee Early Intervention Systems, and basically what we do is we work directly with families that have children that are disabled or developmentally delayed, and we connect them to services and necessary therapies. This is such an amazing program, and we help so many children and families, but currently the way that the referral process works, the way it functions is just so very inefficient. So I chose this project. As an opportunity to hopefully streamline this process, because I've seen how frustrated families become when they have to wait for extended periods of time to get access to these services, or when they have to attend multiple meetings in a month's time in order to get these processes in line, to get their services. But I guess what really hits home for me is that I've seen some really, really good service coordinators in these positions quit their jobs because of the inefficiency and the needless redundancy of these programs and these processes. So using this board as a visual, I'm going to walk you through my project and the tools some of the tools that I use and that I found helpful throughout this course. I'm going to start with kind of an abbreviated version of the project charter. I've given you just a little bit of the background, but to clarify, the stakeholders that are involved are obviously the coordinators for TEIS, and the supervisors, the program coordinators. Also the families, like I mentioned, the families of the children that are receiving the services, but also the contractors, the service providers that we contract with through TEIS. So I took a lot away from the in-scope and out-of-scope areas of the charter, recognizing that obviously as a state entity, it's going to run at its own pace. The meetings are going to be scheduled, they're going to be canceled, they're going to be rescheduled, they're going to be canceled again, and that unfortunately what I feel like should happen is not always going to happen. It's not going to run on my calendar, and to recognize that was pretty eye-opening to me. The obstacles and constraints section of this charter was also pretty eye-opening to me, in that I don't know whether I set myself up for this or not, but I was diagnosed with COVID shortly after this course started, and I had no idea how hard it was going to hit me, not just in my day-to-day work, but also in getting things prepared for this project, and also taking care of a 3-year-old that was sick through this process has been a lot. But on the flip side of that, I don't think I took into account how much support I would receive from upper management. Again, not only in my day-to-day work, but also throughout this project. And that was, like I said, very eye-opening. So, in moving down to the cause and effect diagram, I know it's kind of small, it's probably hard for you to see. I apologize for that, but I'll walk you through it. The overall desired objective on here is to increase the productivity and efficiency obviously for the process itself, but for the service coordinators. This tool was somewhat helpful to me in regards to the processes. It did have to be revised throughout the process multiple times to include changes that were occurring, but the overall goal did not change. It remained to increase productivity and efficiency. Where I would say that it changed the most, like I said, was in the processes, and doing different meetings with upper management, both the program coordinators, the district administrators, the assistant commissioner, the commissioner himself. One of the things that they really liked about this was how we all met together as service coordinators, as service providers. But one of the things that they did want to fine tune was the training. So we, and that's one of the things Dr. Bullington mentioned too, was bringing in that training component. So we did spend some more time in the training part, and that changed. So I think the most useful tool to me was the Kanban board. There's a few pictures on here. Again, they're small, but you get kind of a representation of what that looked like. It started off as a homemade board, which is what I provided the pictures of on this board. It transitioned to a computer program. The computer program, to me, maybe I'm just old school, it was effective. It was very pretty. Everything was where it needed to be. But to me, it didn't have that feeling of accomplishment that the homemade board did. So I went back to using the original board. I didn't use this cardboard board that you're seeing the pictures of. I did transitioned over to a whiteboard. And the one thing that I did learn is don't go cheap on the stick-it notes, the Post-it notes. They will fall off. So I invested a little bit more. I did not use the Dollar Tree stick-it notes. So I found that I liked the flexibility of that board. I liked that it was right in front of me. I could see exactly where things were in the process. I created the cards. I color-coded them. Each specific task had a certain color, and each had a specified date. I knew when something was coming due and when it was accomplished. And there was a lot of gravity in moving it from that in process to that completed. That just felt really good. It gave you that sense of accomplishment that I'm talking about. But the other part of it is that the tool was not overwhelming to me, and I like that, keeping it simple, but also having that sense of accomplishment. So to give you just kind of an overall timeline of how things went for the project itself, I started out by presenting the idea to upper management, which was utilizing the system, the database program system that we already had in place called TEIS, but including additional drop-down boxes where the services, evaluations, those kind of things are in that area, and having information go directly to the service providers in a way that is not overwhelming or cumbersome. It would transition over to a dashboard that the service providers are already familiar with, that they're already using. And those alerts would replace emails that are currently being sent by service providers. Those emails contain referrals that could have 4 or 5 or 6 different services on them. It's very time consuming, like I said. So the service provider would receive the alert. They would then contact the family. They would conduct the evaluation and then enter that information once it's completed back into the database. Once that referral is entered, the service coordinator would then receive the alert, kind of the opposite of what just happened. They would receive the alert on their end using that same dashboard system that's already being used. And then if the child is receiving multiple evaluations, say that they're receiving physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy, that's 3 different evaluations, they would know to wait and schedule the meeting. If they're receiving 1 evaluation, they would know to wait for 3 evaluations because that alert would let you know that. They would know to wait and schedule the meeting with the family once all of those evaluations had been received from that provider. Those alerts would let them know that. So those ideas were developed from multiple meetings with service coordinators, program coordinators, and once upper management gave their approval, that's when things started to get a little tricky. Meetings were scheduled with the IT department to discuss the feasibility of adding that onto the program, and then the meetings occurred with the assistant commissioner. Dates had to change. Meetings occurred, then we had to wait. Eventually, all the meetings were held, and there were only a few changes that needed to be made. On November the 4th, just a couple weeks ago, I was told that the approval was given and the funding was approved, and the new process goes in to the budget for January of 2022. So the training process is still in the works because the state is divided into multiple regions. They want every region to be trained to do this process exactly the same. Currently, none of the regions do the process the same at all. The commissioner is he's very serious about wanting that process to be exactly the same, and I understand that. And they want one person to do the training for all the regions. So I'm hopeful that the training process is going to be a priority, like they've made this streamlining the referral process a priority. So I'm very excited about how this process has gone. I'm very excited about my project and how quickly it went through. I have learned so much from this class, and all of these tools have been so helpful to me, and I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to my presentation. Thank you so much.